What's up, troopers? It's the Notorious Scoundrels. It's a podcast about... What is this podcast about, Michael?
I think last I checked, it's all about you, Evan.
Damn it. Correct. Sometimes it's also about Star Wars Legion. That was good. Good job. Yeah, I done just got whipped. We have a guest. We have a consistent top performer in local tournaments. Also, I would say it's accurate to say the top female performer for Worlds. We have Caitlin Wallace here. So welcome. And I see that you brought a +1.
Yeah, my accessory piece.
Nice.
Feels good sometimes.
And
really.
And who is that?
Just the world champion. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
He doesn't actually have a name. It's just world champion now.
Just world champion.
World champ.
Yeah.
I mean that is what I call him, to just like try to get his goat a little bit in public, and I feel like I have a duty, and I think Caitlin's on board with this. I have a duty to keep your head from swelling.
Yeah, that's the what we're in danger of, is definitely every time somebody walks up and goes, "Hey, champ," is my ego getting too big and not me dying of embarrassment. Let's
Yeah, you were just telling me about how you recently ran into somebody who was very excited to run into you, and about just, you were trying to claim that, oh, this feels very strange, but I know that on the inside you're feeling the tug of the arrogance that can come with being world champion, and I'm here to bring you back down. And that's my job.
What's funny about that story in particular is he was also very excited to meet you. And the difference between meeting me and going, "Oh, no," and you going, "Yeah, was pretty night and day there, buddy. You want to..."
Like I said, this cast was all about Evan.
Yeah, I don't know what you're expecting. But Isaiah and Caitlin were recently in a grand tournament over here in the Seattle, Washington area at Scenic Bellevue, Washington, also known as the shopping district of Seattle, also known as the place that has a bunch of light rail stations that aren't actually connected to the airport yet. And so one wonders why those light rail stations even exist.
Give it like 2 weeks. It's about to happen. It's almost there.
I think I've been hearing that for about 2 years now. But yeah, I can't wait. We're going to be talking about that in just a second. But, Mike, I feel like we've been talking around you. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm recovering from sickness, so if I sound a little nasally today, I apologize. I think it's mostly okay. But
you sound lovely.
Yeah. But doing good. How are you, Evan?
Nobody ever asked that about me.
Okay, moving on.
So strange.
Yeah, all right, let's move on then.
Evan's feeling good. We're moving on.
Well, it's pretty warm today. Okay, so a couple shout outs today. We have a new member, Pashaw30, and then randomly selected member Nutterbutter. Mike, why don't you tell me your opinion on Nutterbutters, since we're talking about the subject?
They're awful. They're terrible. I don't know. Pick a better snack.
Hey, you don't let him tell you how to feel about enjoying an amazing snack. He bad taste over on the East Coast. Bad taste.
Good. They aren't good.
They're bad taste over on this side of the room.
Bad taste right here.
Champ, I'm going to have to join the crowd. Nutterbutter truly is possibly the worst cookie that's ever been
You're
baked.
outvoted.
I mean, honestly, if I wanted to have a Nutter Butter, I'd just take the peanut butter and take a cookie and just spread it myself. I don't know why I would pay extra for someone to do that for me. I don't know.
One time I got this fancy spread just because it sounded good on the I saw it on the grocery aisle and I was like, I'm gonna try putting this on some cupcakes. It's like the sweet spread. and it sounded really interesting, really good. And then I tried it, and it just tasted like Nutter Butter, and then I threw it away.
I think peanut butter
Are you
is...
describing peanut butter?
Yeah.
Are you?
No,
Are you
'cause Nutter
saying
Butter
you,
doesn't taste like peanut butter.
you got some peanut butter and then threw it away because it tasted like peanut butter? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Evan?
it was some kind of like a creamy peanut cashew
Peanut butter!
pastiche. No, but peanut butter isn't like sugary, right? Peanut butter is like sort of peanut buttery. This was like
It's not as
a
sugary.
super sweet, sugary thing, and I thought it would taste good in a cupcake, and I was unpleasantly surprised to find out that it tastes like Nutter Butter. So, Champ, I'm sorry.
Skill issue, man. I don't know
I
what.
Skill issue.
I just want to like be really clear here that per 32 grams of peanut butter, there are 3 grams of sugar in the peanut butter. So
Okay, but 3 grams.
that's
3 grams is not that
10%.
much.
And in like 3 Nutter Butter cookies, there are 3 grams of sugar.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, there's probably more in a Nutter Butter cookie than in the tablespoon of peanut butter.
Sure.
What are we talking about again? Star Wars Legion?
Sprouts.
That'd be
Before
better than
we,
your bad food takes. Yeah.
okay, well, before we get back to that, I will just mention about Legion and also not Legion. Our blog is back. I'm able to edit it again. It took the tech savvy of realizing that I needed to go onto my web hosting service and go back like 3 weeks to a version of the site that actually had any databases in it, because apparently they all were obliterated somehow. And I got it working again. I'm a very smart guy, and this is exactly why Mike doesn't even know this yet, but this is exactly why we have now acquired the services of an actual webmaster to help us out with the site, so that this embarrassing stuff doesn't happen anymore.
That's probably a good thing.
It's probably a good idea. But along with that, we have a new article from Matt Juice on Shatterpoint, and the Legion Buyer's Guide is finally actually updated, which I had promised a couple weeks ago and then couldn't do because I could not edit the website because it did not actually have any databases whatsoever. When I was talking to somebody on the web hosting service about like, hey, why is my site not working? They were like, we have no idea how you did this. You deleted all of the databases. I was just like, I swear I didn't do anything.
I want to point out how great it is that your local playgroup is like me, a software engineer, Will and Francois, who both are software engineers, like 6 software engineers. And we're always, every time you come in and talk about web problems, we're all just like, yep, nope, we're not going to.
It's funny you say that because the person who we acquired to help with the site is in fact Will. Because he was probably tired of like hearing this bonehead talk about, oh, this website is hard. I tried to click the buttons and they went all goofy on me.
We actually drew straws because we were sick of hearing you complain about it. And it was he lost. So
yeah. All right. Well, it's nice that one of you computer boys and girls actually stepped up to the plate. Very kind of you. So yeah, excited about that. But let's go to talking about the Evergreen Open, reason for this season. So Evergreen Open is our 3rd year running it. The first 2 years have been great successes from a tournament running standpoint, and it was like there had not been any sort of like officially sanctioned Pacific Northwest events prior to the first Evergreen Open, which was 2 years ago. So that was an exciting thing when it happened. And so all 3 years we've had like the AMG games that existed. So the first one didn't have Shatterpoint, but the last 2 have had it. And then we got some MCP and we got Legion. Legion is pretty consistently well attended. And the fun part, one of the fun parts of Evergreen is that you usually end up with this breakdown where it's like 3/5 Washington and 2/5 Oregon in terms of the people that actually come by, and it's created a bit of a rivalry. It's one where we don't actually like. There's no actual dislike of each other. Like we're all pals. Everybody's pretty cool in this circle. However, some people, particularly me, try to sort of egg on the idea that there has been this thing where when Washington State folks have gone down to Portland tournaments that we've very often won between Izzy and myself. Isaiah, did you ever win any down in Oregon yet? Or
no.
Is that one you haven't broken through yet?
I've been down to one tournament down there, and it was at Gongai Games, which is an amazing game store if you're ever in Oregon.
It's a very good story.
I played quad ARFs, and I was trying to.
Right.
I was having fun, but I was
sorry.
not.
Mike,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Performing well.
What did you just say?
Quad ARFs. It was
With an F. With an F.
Yeah.
with an
Okay.
F.
All right.
It was pretty quick after the release. It was. I mean, I had a great time, and I did much better than I thought I would. I just was. I think I did quad ARFs, double commandos. I'm trying to remember the list exactly.
I mean, it was 5 at first, obviously.
Cody, and then
Not 5 at first then.
Well, then
no, it was not
how,
five at first.
how did you play
Probably
4
not quad
ARFs?
arse then, or else unless you were
Or no, yeah, sorry, triple ARFs.
okay.
And
It's like this list isn't legal.
It's just getting better.
it was
and
just
better.
it was so bad. Everybody let me do it. No, it was
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, triple ARFs. And then I had an Echo Squad, so that's why I was thinking quad ARFs because
Sure,
I basically effectively had a fourth range 4 unit, and then it just didn't do well. So no, I'm
Well,
not wanting
really?
there. Yeah. I mean, it went 3 and I think it went 3 and 2, so it went positive. But
How many of those
Didn't-
wins were because you had ARF troopers instead of ARC troopers? 0 is the answer. I was just gonna.
0.
It's
0.
sort of a.
Yeah.
It's sort of a rhetorical question. I'm glad you learned your lesson. That was before you went to Worlds, right?
That was after. That was after.
That was after you were just funning around. You're like, I'm the world champ. I can take 3 ARFs down to Gongai and just clean up.
Well, I mean, I always play. I play a lot of silly lists. I mean, we'll talk about the league later, and the
Oh, God.
league list there is a very silly
Yeah.
list.
Mike's gonna love
Um,
that one.
I can't harp too much. I did just register my Nova Open list, so.
Oh, are we gonna talk about that or?
By the time people hear this cast, the list will be locked for several days. So it'll,
Yeah. All right. Well, actually, I think let's talk about that when we talk about the league list because maybe a good segue. But yeah. Anyway, back to Evergreen Open. There's this thing where often, especially Izzy and I, when we've gone down there, that one of us has like won the tournament. And then, but of course, with the big tournament for the Northwest, which is Evergreen Open, for 2 years in a row, Joe Lomolder has been the winner, and he is from Portland. Mike, I think you've met him, right?
yeah, he's great. He's
sort of the
JoJo
other.
Binks.
He's like the other Yoda guy, yeah, JoJo Binks.
Yeah.
And believe me, he is exactly as harsh on Yoda as he ever was. He has not been trying to like mentally open the door and like repair and like build bridges back with Yoda the way that you have.
Yeah.
He's been done ever since Relentless went away.
That's you like the standby stuff.
Yeah, ever
Yeah.
since like the good version of Relentless went away, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll get to it. We'll get to it in the end of whether Washington reversed its fortunes. So can't wait to hear about that one. But let's start with. Oh yeah, first of all, I was judging, so I wasn't playing. I had a very good time helping out with some calls, and then
Geos in the
gradually shifting to sitting at a side table and building Geonosians, and like sometimes responding to calls. It was multitasking. We had 3 judges for a 30-person event, so we were, a little bit judge heavy. We were able to make it work, but enough about me. Caitlin, let's start with you. What did you end up deciding to bring to the tournament? And I should say for everybody else, you are usually a CIS player.
Yes.
Pretty much always a CIS
Still
player.
a CIS
Yeah.
player. It's the only thing I play.
Nothing
I've
wrong with that.
played at home the GAR list that Isaiah has occasionally. That's about it. I've never taken it anywhere, played it legitimately. So CIS. I had Grievous, 6 Geonosians, 3 Spiders with the ion guns, so the range 4 guns, and 2 AATs with just the high energy shells. And so 5 things for range 4, and then Geos that dive way too quickly. Don't know why they do that. Definitely not me at all.
Now it's the saves.
But
They are rebel troopers.
Without agile or nimble.
Yeah, without the defensive
Yeah,
tech.
which does make a difference.
they are not very good.
But I mean, I like the concept because it's like half gun line and then half super mobility, and you do have Grievous also, right?
Yeah.
And so you have some melee threat, but like at the end of the day, you're gonna have 5 scary guns that are just sort of like sitting in the back and shooting at range 4. Sometimes
That is the
even
hope, at least.
yeah, and so pretty good for bunker assault when you don't really like need to move anywhere, and then but also like because you have all the geos, unlike many vehicle heavy CIS lists, you're not going to be feeling sore if you end up in shifting priorities, because they're going to be able to just like kind of chase them around. But before we sort of hear about how your games went, Isaiah, why don't you tell us about what list that you took?
Sure. So that's not me. My list was a similar vein to my Worlds list. Kind of the same fundamental idea, but playing around with some of the changes that have happened. So it was still an Obi Cody list. Still functioned kind of similarly, but I was trying to riff on it and see if I could break out of I have the bubble and then the other thing that just dies. Try to get a little bit more flexibility. So I I took away the 2 ISPs, added 2 Barks, added a Lat. Like I said, running down from the top, I had Obi, Cody, 3 core with 2 of them naked, 1 of them with Ahsoka, 1 of them with a shotgun. Or sorry, the one with Ahsoka had a shotgun. 3 ARC troopers, all with medics, 2 Barks, 1 with HQ, and 1 Lat with just high energy and armor piercing. Mostly because now that Barks have come down, I feel like they can kind of fill the role that I was filling with ISPs, which was all right, I'm across the field now and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And I also really do like the Lat now that it's come down in price. I feel like the small increase in price over the ISP is pretty good for the much higher level of survivability that you get, especially because at least when I play ISPs, my biggest threat is almost always a saber, like some sort of saber user
Sure.
who's just going to roll up on me and just chew through it, right? Especially if they get the side arc. That's impact 3. They probably have a critical 1 or 2 or surge to crit. There are times that I've gotten one shot by a saber before, or I've gotten, I've had 2 wounds on me and I just get eaten from my front arc. So being immune melee is honestly the biggest thing of that. That makes it really nice and makes me less afraid. I'm not using it I was not using it in this capacity functionally as a gunboat, really. I didn't have door gunners. I was mostly just using it as a thing to put on points, and it was worth more. It cost people more resources to kill it than it was worth most of the time, was kind of my goal with that.
Michael, I saw you make a face when he mentioned the Lat. Can you tell us more?
I've played a lot of it lately. I don't know. I'm not high on it, unfortunately, but I appreciate you trying to make it work.
I kind of can see there's some areas where I hurt with it, but I did feel like I got the value out of it in this event. I am still considering the idea of maybe a naked ISP to fill a similar role.
Sure.
But also in this core, in this list, I also had naked Barks, which were exclusively for diving points. And hey, you're going to go score a single point and then die, and you're going to sit in the back line until you do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're cheap enough that you can do that. I mean, I will say that the Lat it's pretty survivable, honestly.
I don't know, man.
It doesn't have a
people
weak
around
point.
here tend to play Ion Snowtroopers, and man, like
Oh,
one
yeah.
Ion Snowtrooper just like makes your Lat feel very miserable very quickly. When
That part is true.
When you only get 1 action every turn.
Yeah, getting ionized with the Lat, it does feel very rough because the two weapons is nice to make it so that you don't ever need to recover anymore, except in weird circumstances. But you pretty much always want to be moving. If you're against ions, then I'm sure this is something that you did, Isaiah, is that you would make sure that you rested in a spot where you wouldn't mind being ionized, so that you could like just shoot. But it's still not that easy.
Largely, I mean, a lot of the times the fights it was in, like it would take a shot if it could, because I mean, if you can, you should, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time I didn't care about the shot it had. It was, I'm not gonna, I have a few examples I can get into when we talk about specific games, but it is just a, hey, I'm gonna sit on this point on either recover or on something where I can put it there with some naked core hiding behind a building that are also contesting, and it's just going to contest points. And it also has the big base where it can contest on a few of the
It
objectives.
can double contest sometimes.
Yeah, it can double contest.
Mm-hmm. Like on bunker is a nice one to be able to do that.
Yeah, bunker or shifting. A lot of times you can get it on shifting once people move.
Yeah, and like when you talk about movement, being able to 90-degree turn and then strafe on a hover air vehicle like does give you a lot of freedom of movement.
And hover too. I mean, there was a decent amount of height to terrain.
Yeah.
Just being able to say, okay, yeah, whatever, I'll ignore that. I think there was only like one piece. I guess technically, if you include the Camino table, 2 pieces of height 3 terrain the entire weekend. But
well, let's talk about some of your games. We're not going to do sort of the full recap, but I was just going to ask if both of you could pick just a couple games each during the first couple days. We ran it as a 3-day tournament. Wasn't necessary to do that for 30 players. Not really, but it allowed everybody to get at least 5 games in, and then we did a top 8 after that. And so it was just like a big weekend full of Legion. So people knew what they were signing up for, and sort of similarly to what they do in the UK, where they sometimes play more games than is necessary. That was sort of built into the front end. But Caitlin, let's start with you. What's like, is there a game in particular that you want to call out as being interesting or particularly fun?
I played a game of Intercept against an Obi Cody list that wasn't Isaiah. Against a guy named Andrew, who is newer to Legion, but has been really good at playing. He's now beaten me twice at 2 different tournaments, and I'm slightly sad about it, but it happens. We played Intercept Signals, and I thought if I put my scanners on my tanks, they'd be okay. Like, it makes them slightly inconvenient, and my hope was they'd be able to shoot, like, inward towards the middle or to that center point or something, and so they'd be fine. And that didn't end up working out very well. And from playing him previously, he had a very hard, I'm going to kill your tanks vibe. And so he managed to kill one of the tanks. Actually, he killed both of the tanks. In the end.
Wow. With what?
Bad Batch, and then Obi-Wan, and I think the Arcs on the other side for how it was.
Huh. Okay.
And it was a rough game, but a lot of fun. Someone had also told me that Andrew had deployed like all of his stuff on one side for a different game, and I was like, oh, okay, so he'll probably do something similar, because thus far it looks like he's doing that. So I kind of pushed some geos a little too far forward, and 2 were dead at the end of round 1. So definitely my own fault, but was able to stress him out a couple of times, because I got 2 geos to his back point, and all he had was his Bark Bike. Had a really cool swing point where I did shoot his ISP in the side arc with 3 geos and got 3 crits, and that killed him.
Nice.
So was like, yes, can probably get this. And then no, he ended up killing those geos that were back there. And I was like, well, at least I changed what you did. But it was a really fun game.
Cool. Caitlin, we talked a little bit during the tournament about the suicide geo strategy. And I was curious whether you've gotten a chance to implement that yet, because it is quite, it's silly, but it's also actually effective. On Intercept specifically.
I like the idea of it. The issue is I have to get enough back there, and they can't go from basically my backlines to their backlines and contest it, especially with where it was. I just wouldn't have had the space to land enough back there. But we did talk about that, and I like the idea. They would have all died very fast, because I basically would have 3 actions, and then I start drawing from my bag, and I'm like, hopefully I get the spiders. But as soon as the geos draw, it's like I have to commit to throwing them out there, and that leads to he changes what he's doing to kill all the geos that are now out in the open, probably.
It does work less well the fewer total units that you have, because there's more opportunity for them to get killed. But we talk about this a little bit in the Intercept the Transmissions TFT Mini that I think is out.
I'm not sure about
Nice
that.
plug.
If it's not out, it will be pretty soon. But yeah, it's we talk about it there, so I'll just refer people to that rather than taking up time here. But it's a cool thing to try. But yeah, so thanks for that. And then Isaiah, what's a game maybe from day one that you wanted to highlight? How about the one you lost?
Yeah, we can talk about that one.
The one that put you underwater to where you had to submarine your way to the top 8.
That's funny. I want to
the same guy, by the way.
the same guy.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
I wanted to comment real quick on how the structure of Evergreen is, which I really enjoy. It is more games than is necessary for a single elimination tournament,
Right.
but I really like it because it is an honest, true Swiss format where we have there's 1 5-0 at the end of the open portion, 5 4-1s, and 2 3-2s managed to go forward. And I really like that when Swiss tournaments like that work, because if you only have the minimum number you have to get to a single winner, that's not really Swiss. That's just hidden bracket, right? And so I really, really like having at least one more game, or ideally 2, so you can really get the full cut, or you can get like a Swiss honest experience. But we did then have the hard top 8 cut, like you mentioned. So my first game was against the same guy, Andrew, who is huge shout out, amazing to play, ton of fun, really enjoyed him, really, really nice guy. But he was playing a list that was a very similar list to mine. I got to talk to him a good bit about it, and it was not a mirror list exactly, but it functioned a lot like a mirror list. It was a Obi Cody list. The effective change was that instead of 3 arcs, he had Bad Batch. Instead of a lat, he had an ISP, and instead of Ahsoka, he had 5s.
Mhm.
So it was Obi, Cody, Batch, 3 infantry, 1 with 5s, 3 Barks. His did have RPS 6s on him, and then he had the ISP with the missile pods. 1 ISP with missile pods. We got into, so that was my first game of the day, and I had a lot of concern going into that game, and I think I really played that game at a disadvantage, especially after talking through it with him, because I was terrified of a situation. First off, I've never played a mirror match with that list before. I played a lot of games with an Obi Cody list, never played a mirror match. Second, I realized we were going to get into a situation, I thought he was emulating my list, where turn 2, we were both going to play Cody 2-pip, and everything was going to die. Because I realized that was basically an infinite loop, where as soon as Obi or Cody took a wound, both sides would get a shot back, and that could just ping pong essentially endlessly.
That sounds absolutely horrible.
It sounded
Sounds
horrible.
awesome.
And I realized it going into deployment. I was like, oh, I need to be aware. And I kind of did some calculus on who do I think wins that. And the effective thing is who's immune to being guardianed. Well, the vehicles, right? It's going to be the vehicles that are going to be less affected by that. He has stronger vehicle presence than I do, especially with the RPSs. He can handle my lat. So I was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to mix up my strategy from what I normally do in fear that he's going to do that. And then he didn't do that. And so I just threw away my turn 2 plan for no reason. And
Well done.
basically jumped on a grenade that wasn't there, and then just kind of got shot in the back for it. And so it really, really did not play. I did not play it well. And not to say he didn't play it well. He played very well. And I made critical blunders in what I was anticipating coming, and kind of got in my own head of, this is how I would play this list. So that's obviously how you're going to play it, right? Yeah.
Mike, had you never considered the concept of the Obi Cody infinite loop scenario?
No, I definitely haven't considered the possibility of that. I do think I sort of feel like you might actually be at an advantage there. At
Why's
the end
that?
of the day, because I think you've got more things to actually take damage from his to like you've got more things to Guardian, therefore like on that turn you could like in the like Magic Christmas Land that is both of you playing Cody's 2-pip on turn 2, you just shoot his vehicles.
Right, but the first thing to trigger that Cody shoot back, because it is not once per activation, it is once per enemy attack.
Yeah.
So it would be the first thing he shoots me with, Obi-Wan Guardians. The first time Obi-Wan takes a wound, Cody shoots back at one of his units. He Obi-Wan Guardians, Cody shoots back, and it would be on the first attack made. You would just be ping-ponging back and forth.
Once you start going back and forth, though, if you're guardianing, you can only have troopers shooting troopers if you're using the guardian stuff, because if Cody takes the revenge shot against like a Bark or whatever,
and isn't it just like Cody shooting?
Over.
Isn't it just like Cody shooting Cody a bunch of times?
It would be Cody shooting Cody and Obi's taking wounds. And I was less confident that if I lost my Obi, I would handle him than if he lost his Obi.
I feel like whoever kicks the chain first has a significant advantage there. Assuming that whoever takes the first wound on their Kenobi is at a disadvantage.
Did you have more medics than him? You had 3.
I had 3 medics, but you wouldn't have a chance to activate them in between that because someone would die first, right?
That's right.
Unless, I mean, there's always the possibility that somebody doesn't take wounds and the chain ends, and then you have an opportunity. But I don't think that's very likely. I think more likely Cody just takes at least one back and forth constantly.
I mean, you could always just choose not to Guardian, right?
You could, but then Cody just dies.
Sure.
I personally think that you should have just believed.
That sounds horrible.
You should have just believed in your own ability to roll hot dice and then have gone for it.
Maybe. I mean,
you needed to embrace your champion mentality.
It definitely could have been a lot of fun, and I just psyched myself out of it and got too worried and pulled off of it when it didn't end up happening. But it's now something that haunts me every night.
That's definitely something where, like, if something like that started to happen, I think I might call a judge immediately. Just be like, can you please stand here while we do this? Because this is going to get really stupid.
Yeah. That is insane. And I hope that I can hear of somebody's experience when that actually happens someday. Certainly, Obi Cody, thanks to you, Isaiah, is more popular than it ever had been in the past. So it is something that certainly could happen. Okay, so Kaylin, either later in day 1 or going into day 2, was there another match that you wanted to call out because it was interesting or fun for you?
Let's see, what else did I do? They were all good games. I don't know.
You had a sis versus sis for your last round, right?
Yeah, against Travis, a local-ish. I think I realize I don't actually know where he normally plays, like his city of place, but around Seattle. Played against Travis. He had Kalani, T-Series, Asajj. Asajj was the problem. I will get to that. 6 naked B1s, 2 flamethrower spiders, and a crab and aqua and snail tank. So, looking at his list. In general, it was fine. The flamethrower, one of them was able to get to some geos and shoot them. The other one died very quickly and could not get to him. So that was nice, but it was a geo squad down very early, and I was like, oh no. We played Recover, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Recover. And so my ideal hope with that is I can deploy both my tanks and they can hold the points and I never have to move them again. In general, that's what happened. But I deployed them far away from his thing, so one of them wasn't able to get a lot of shots off and should have deployed it on the other side. That's kind of what I figured out. But terrain-wise, I don't think it would have balanced where it needed to be deployed. So that kind of sucked. But my biggest problem was we were also playing Destroy Enemy Base. Grievous had my bomb, and I deployed him near that area, was going that way. Asajj had demoralized too. Grievous got shot at. He didn't have backup. He didn't take a lot of wounds, but he panicked.
Oh no.
Dropped the bomb. And then he
Good old
managed to
Grievous.
Yeah, this
get
is
down
the
to-
classic Grievous right there.
got down to 3 suppression, picked it up, moved, relentless something in the area that had no significant effect, got panicked, dropped the bomb.
Yeah, this is very familiar for Legacy Legion of the hashtag just panic Grievous strategy, which was a better strategy when Grievous was like almost a quarter of your list as a CIS player.
Yeah.
And to the point where Grievous players basically for a while felt like they had to run endurance, which is like kind of a drag.
Yeah.
But and so now he's in a better position because he's cheaper and then lists are bigger, so he's like less of a focal point. But yeah, when you need to panic Grievous, he just panics.
How did you
which
feel
is too
about?
bad.
Easy to panic everything else in my army because he's only 2 courage.
Yeah.
And I typically do not take a second commander or one with higher than 2 courage.
I was going to ask
With my own
about that.
flaws, but
How do you feel about Grievous generally? Like, I just didn't see.
I
it
like
as-
him.
Yeah.
I enjoy him. I think he's a fun unit.
A missile.
He's very
I like-
fun.
I like using his Daka swords.
That's fair. Do you use him like a missile normally?
Sometimes. I typically try to.
Okay.
I'll typically play his 1-pip card. Depending on where he is, it'll be 2 or 3. Oftentimes it ends up being 3. I think I used it round 4 in one of my games just because of he was misplaced, or I think he was suppressed and almost panicked. And I was like, this doesn't make sense to do now because he may not get his turn. And so that was a struggle.
I gotta say, I know a lot of people don't think Grievous is hot stuff, but he to me is just a mean gun to look down the barrel of. When I see him running towards me,
I think he's one of those units that like it's good to get on target, but I think Caitlin, you pointed out like the suppression issue it's a problem.
Yeah, it's. And then so he was your only commander or operative in your list, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you obviously you have a lot of beef elsewhere, being double tank and triple ion spider. So, sort of functionally, it's almost as if Grievous is, and an operative. And honestly, I feel like Grievous usually feels like an operative, sort of in a weird way, because he's sort of diving in there. He's very often the second banana in a list in terms of characters. Like he can sometimes go in lists that have Dooku. If the list has either Maul or Asajj, then Grievous functionally is the second banana in terms of sort of power level, comparing those. And yeah, like he can definitely get in there and do some stuff. But yeah, demoralize definitely makes it tough, or suppressive weapons, and then he doesn't move anywhere. But yeah, like if you can imagine back in the day when you ran away if you panicked, it was an issue playing Grievous sometimes. But yeah, that's cool. And then Isaiah, I think that if we're talking about day 2, then we got to talk about your top 8 match.
yeah, for sure. So the structure was 3 open of the open 3 games day 1, 2 games day 2, then a in between game 2 and 3 there was the top 8 cut. I would like to point out that all 3 day 2 games were against Portland, and guess how many of those Portland made it to top 4. So anyway, but my top 8,
we'll get back to your prowess against Portland when we get to the end of the segment. But yeah, go ahead, Isaiah.
You don't got to put that on me yet. Okay. So my top 8 game was against Jojo
Banks, Joe LaMolder. Yeah.
who I remember you asking how you say his last name so you would get it right on the cast.
And I apologize, Joe, if it is Lockmolder, if it's sort of a German thing, then I do apologize. But hopefully I'm getting it right, and if not, then I will publicly apologize next time.
But my game against Joe, so this was top 8. For context, Joe and I played last year at the finals of Evergreen. He and I were 1 and 2, and he pulled it out on me and ended up winning and was first place last Evergreen, and I was second. So this was definitely a I don't want to say tense, but like a rivalry match, because we've kind of a rematch sort of thing from last year. It was a very good game. It was a very, very, very close game. I'll run through his list real quick just to.
It's definitely worth running through his list. I think you'll like his list, Mike.
I've already
If you
looked
haven't
at
seen
it.
it already.
So it is a Gar list with Commander Ahsoka, which the first thing I said to him was, I don't see her very often. And he goes, yeah, everybody says that. And then they lose. Which was true before to everyone before me. He was the one person who went 5-0 and made the top 8 cut.
Mm-hmm.
So he had Commander Ahsoka with Throw and Into the Fray. He had Padme with Improvised Orders. 3 core with the medic. That's it. 3 arcs with the medic. That's it. And then 2 arc strike teams and 2 commandos with HQ. He played a lot of bunker assault, was my understanding. He played 4 games in the 4 games of his 6 games were bunker assault. And he really liked bunker assault a lot, which makes sense. I mean, you have 4 or 5 special forces units in that list that are not. I mean, the special forces the strike teams are a little squishy, but not particularly too terribly squishy. So it's a pretty good bunker list. We played bunker with surface scan. In the end, I ended up pulling it out on him by 1 point. It was 13-14, and it came down to some very close plays at the very end. I made a mistake early on, and so the game was very swinging. There were several points where I was kind of that meme of, oh, I'm a genius. Oh, no. Oh, I'm a genius. Oh, no. Because at one point, I managed to kill Ahsoka, I think round 2, with the Obi during my Obi Cody turn. Not because of Obi Cody, but because I just kept shooting things, and she just kept taking them and gardening them and blanking them. And she died turn 2 very quickly before she got anywhere. And I was very happy. And then my Ahsoka with my scanner died, and he scored 2 points because it was the last act of the round, and I was very sad. Because he pulled a very good shot with commandos that managed to use their scattergun to cohere Ahsoka forward in a way that he was able to charge her with some arcs. I really flubbed my roll, and they died last activation, and it just fell apart from there. That was really bad. And also, I had spent her independent dodge earlier because I was confident that she was not going to get charged, and that was incorrect. So,
meanwhile, as I'm building Geonosians 2 tables away, I overhear the fact that Isaiah, lost your surface scan 2 points at the end of round 2, and I sort of looked up for a second, and I was like, "Well, he's going to have some trouble winning this one, huh?"
Definitely had some trouble with that one. What it effectively came down to was, on one side he had both commanders, 2 arcs, and 2 of his core, and the other side was 2 strike teams. Oh, and 1 of the commandos, sorry, on the first side. The other side was 2 strike teams, a single core, and a commando. And I basically just split Barks and Lats on one side and Naked Core on one side and everything that mattered on the other side. And I was able to punch through and pretty handily kill everything on his one side. By about the end of turn 3, he was starting to get real low on X. By the end of turn 4, everything on that side was gone. And what it came down to was I got the scanner point, and we were basically parity on primary points the entire way through the game. I was able to score his scanner point to get back the 2-point differential that had happened, and then I just sprinted away with my scanners and just said, all right, we just got to go hide. And so we just ran to the other side of the map. There was a positioning where I had to get one on a point that was able to get on a point, and I was able to just shy him a little bit so that when he died, someone else was able to, and he dropped my scanner, someone else was able to move into that spot, pick up the scanner, and I was able to, at the very last play of the game, was me double moving with some arcs, picking up a scanner, being on a point, and getting the final that I needed. But it was very, very close. Had it gone to kill point, had I not gotten that scanner point, we would have gone to kill points and he would have had me.
Yeah.
Although if I knew I had not been able to get that scanner, there's a chance that I would have been able to kill a commando unit that was nearby. Or not a commando unit, sorry, an ARC unit that was nearby that may have flopped that. But it was very close. It was a very good game. Yeah, I just good game.
It was a really sick back and forth. Like once it got to the end, I did in fact put my Jane Oceans down and watch the whole thing, and it was a very cool back and forth where it really did come down to the wire. Like luckily you guys barely passed under the mark in terms of being able to get to your round 5 because it was close to not getting there, and I hadn't gone back to look to see what would have happened if it was call early. I think you would have lost, just because you wouldn't have been able to deny him the surface scan points at the end if you did that. But in any case, it was just back and forth of both of you making the correct decisions, especially at the end with regards to the thing with your activation with that limited resource. And you're talking about round 5, you're only going to be able to do each of those things one more time. What is the thing that you're going to do? And I think this one was probably in round 4, but that includes, there was a point where Joe activated his commandos, and he probably had some pretty juicy opportunities for them to maybe try to take a range 2 shot at the LAT. That was pretty close with their big impact guns. But, he had sort of the board awareness to realize that Obi on 2 wounds left when he killed him. I don't remember whether it was 2 or 3.
I do not recall, but it was something. It was something like that. Yeah. But I mean, Obi got pretty beat up on the run in.
Yeah. And so, he had the wherewithal to realize that Obi was literally out in the open on the other side of the board from the perspective of the commandos that were, on the other home bunker side, and got that shot in and was able to take care of him, which, again, if you did tie up on VPs, that's why he would have had you on MOV, because of the Obi kill. And without that, he would have lost MOV also.
Yes. This is getting really into the weeds about that game, so this might be bad cast talk for people who weren't there. But the counter to that I would have is that LAT did take a turn after that to shoot at his final ARC strike team, and only got 1 wound. Had it gotten both wounds, he would not have had the shot to take down my ARCs in the first place. So I don't necessarily know that not trying to damage the LAT was the right call. But getting Obi worked out, and it was great, and was really good. And then I flubbed the LAT roll, so it didn't matter. But
that was your fault.
That was my fault.
Just to make sure you understand that.
That was me being bad.
Nice.
Yeah, you just got to roll crits more. Mike, what do you think of Joe's list? Because it's sort of similar to list concepts that we've talked about here before. It's not quite the Mega 15 Act stuff that we've talked about as sort of a dream scenario, but it's pretty high act and it's got a decent amount of beef. It's sort of a middle point. What do you think of it?
I think I like it in concept. I really don't like medics in the naked clone squads. I think that's a very expensive price point for what they're adding to that squad. For all of the medics that he put into the infantry squads, he could have bought another activation to kind of he could have went to 13 here. And I really don't like strike teams, so I'm sorry, Joe. I'm not in love with this list. But I see what he's doing. I don't know. How did you feel playing against the medics and the infantry squads?
So I will say something about the strike teams and the commandos is I lost a bark turn 1, and the bark was moved the minimal amount onto the board that it had to.
Sure.
So there was, that's not an even trade, right?
Well, you lost something and he lost nothing, right?
True, but then you're dedicating 50. What,
Some would
50
say that's free money.
Yeah, I'd put
But
that.
you're
in the
dedicating
free
57
money
points then
category.
that is only going to be able to do that every round. So I'm not sold on the strike teams in ARCs. But the naked infantry I largely didn't care about.
Yeah.
I found it was easier just to let the healing happen. The healing happened a lot on deflect. It was deflect things that would get brought back. And specifically with my list, I don't have the hardest time getting wounds. 1 wound here, 1 wound there. And so by the end of turn 2, most of the medics were spent. I think he spent all but 1. He might have spent the last one turn 5, but in an inconsequential way. It was mainly 5 of the 6 got off. And it was annoying. I will say it was annoying for one commando squad to kind of just zombie.
Sure.
But not to a point where I was too frustrated about it, because I definitely was able to kind of just prioritize what I wanted. And it was like, okay, well, you're just giving me a target to kind of burn down. And if I burn them down and it burns a medic charge instead, hey, that's still something I burn from it, right?
Yeah.
But if those medics had been like another like naked core, then you would in fact be killing units. And to me that's the difference, is that like the value of medics is not obviously like it's a body, it's another black dice, and it's being able to keep your units alive, but it's also about delaying functional attrition, which is to say that when the mini is dead, then obviously that makes that unit closer to fully dying, but it also means that mini's attack dice is gone for the rest of the game, whereas the medic does reverse that, and it gets their attack dice back on the front end of the game, which means that your army doesn't truly start like this snowball getting smaller process until all of your medic charges are spent. At least if you're using those charges on reviving minis rather than like, you know, dumping health back into Anakin or Obi-Wan or whatever. And so like there is a little bit more than meets the eye on medics. I feel like that's at least worth calling out.
That is fair. And there is value there. At a certain point you reach a saturation that I think is
that's certainly
a little bit hard to get the full value out of them in some ways. And again, not that he wasn't. They were very valuable and they were annoying. But I don't know that, for example, a shotgun in place of one of the medics, or taking a heavy there, or maybe taking medics and taking a medic in one of them and pulling a medic off another one and putting a shotgun on the medic squad to make it a super squad, or making.
If you're talking about turning those 3 medics into Ahsoka and a shotgun, which is basically something, or that's literally something you can do, right? Because that's 59 points for that combo. Yeah. Then I feel like now you're talking in terms of being able to make an argument of more value, like extra acts are extra acts. But if I was going to think of a way that you could make the argument that the medics are not so great, then I feel like that would be a way to think about it. So moving on to the top 4 cut. So by the time we got there, Kalen was in mega chillin' mode. Very, very, very helpfully hanging out near the finals tables, especially when she actually pointed out
making more correct judge calls than the judges.
She pointed out the fact that her husband over here and his top 4 opponent had gotten to the end of round 2 and shifting priorities, and that both of them and also the judges had neglected to notice the fact that nobody was moving their POIs around.
We had 3 judges. We were judge heavy. We didn't need that many judges.
In my defense, okay, I wasn't building Geonosians again yet that day, so I actually don't have a defense for that one. But yeah, Caitlin just walked over to be like, "Hey, just thought I'd let you know that nobody moved their POIs."
I mean, so you guys just decided to play a game of stationary positions?
Well, I would love to talk about the top 4 game.
Sure, go ahead.
If I'm not censored by this judge who hates my play style in this game, I would love to, because that was my favorite game of the entire tournament. So fun fact, the top 8 cut was exactly 50% Washington, exactly 50%
So
Portland.
Washington played Washington, and then Portland played Portland in the top 4, which was therefore guaranteeing a Washington versus Portland final.
But even better than that, we went from the top 8 was just Washington, Portland. The top 4 was specifically Zulus, my home store, and one of my close
does
buddies,
carry Legion.
which carries Legion. They have 2 buses in stock. 2 buses. That's it.
For now.
Hey, that's Legion. They'll have more soon.
Adam Harrison and myself, and then Luke and Nick. Thank you. From, I believe they're both from Gongai. I might be just a liar, but I'm pretty sure they're both from Gongai. So it turned into
Their stores are all a pastiche of
Yeah.
Oregon business. It's just a melting pot, you know.
You guys really got something going on here. What's the deal?
It was just really cool though, because they pointed out to us, it was like, this is effectively gone from a Washington versus Portland or Washington versus Oregon thing to a this store versus this store finals. And so we were, the final cut, we were kind of strategizing and thinking, well, would I rather play Adam in the top 4 or in the top 2? For context, I have played Adam quite a bit, and I have almost never beat him. He is a very, very good player. He is also not very competitively active. So he has not he doesn't have a ton of experience, and he is too nice. He doesn't advocate for himself enough. His list was a CIS Kalani, Poggle, Sunfac, 2 B1s with a body, 2 B2s super with a Acom, 3 Geos with a body, and 3 Decas. I have played against him, specifically piloting this list, quite a few times, and this was the first time I have ever beaten it. So I was pretty sad going into this game because it's one I have a lot of experience against and have never been able to crack it with my specific list. The game was very, very good. It ended up being, I believe, a 1-point differential. I'm going to see if I can find that.
Man, this list looks like it shouldn't all fit in one list.
If it will, Longshanks, please. I believe it was a 1-point differential. We were playing, 2-point differential. We were playing Recover and...
Shifting.
Shifting and Surface Gain. You're right. It was a 1-point differential. I'm looking at his previous game. It was a very, very close game. He and I played incredibly friendly, to the point where the judges were getting a little frustrated with me, pointing out...
By the judges, he means me, by the way.
Okay.
And hang on, you shouldn't mischaracterize
I was being
me.
censored from my God-given right to speak to my opponent as I saw fit. No,
so and obviously, like, it was dual-sided, so nobody was disadvantaging the other player by doing this, but it was like nice from a sportsmanship standpoint that they were like talking things out like very completely in terms of saying, like, I think I should do this so that I can do this and do this, and they're like talking through strategy with each other. And if y'all want to do that, then that is totally up to you. But it was getting to the point that it was really starting to eat into your clock.
For sure.
And so again, it's, as I was saying at the tournament, it's not about saying, like, you guys shouldn't be doing that. I'm wagging my finger at you because this is a tournament. It needs to be serious stuff. It really all just comes down to maybe it's a little bit selfish, but I think that from sort of like the grander angle of a tournament sort of deciding, quote, who is best, is that the ideal is to get all the rounds in that you possibly can. And so, I was basically just saying that in a tournament game, you might want to do a little bit less of like the strategy talk the way that you might do at a game night. But, the fact that you guys do that sort of talk regularly is probably a big reason in terms of like why you're both very good players. So I think that it's a really helpful thing to keep in mind in the larger sense. And, if there's people in the comments who want to tell me that I was being kind of an ass by saying that, then I welcome it. And maybe it's true. But I basically just wanted to see you guys get all the rounds in that you could, is what I was
You
most
wanted us
worried
to
about.
finish early so we could build geos in the corner and not
Listen,
be
that
bothered.
had almost nothing to do with it.
No, that is a fair point. And we did, and for context, we did only go to round 4. It was I will say we were both very happy with the end of round 4, and round 4 was functionally the game end.
You still would have won around 5, so
the win would have only
actually
been
change anything.
significantly more decisive.
Right.
And functionally, I would have won round 3 because he, as I said, he's a really good player, but he doesn't have a ton of competitive experience. And I saw him go to make a kind of trying to speed it up a little bit, and him go to make a mistake that would have cost him a point that was critical. And I'm confident enough that he wouldn't make that normal sort of mistake. That's something I'll do. And this is something I do for a lot of opponents, but especially for people that I have good rapport with, is if I see an obvious aggressive mistake that I think is because of nerves or the situation or trying to move quickly, I don't like punishing people for that. So I will a lot of times just kind of go, are you sure? Kind of thing. Not necessarily tell them what the mistake is, but it was one of those obvious mistakes where it was, specifically what the situation was, there was a 1 health B2 left, engaged with like a 2 health arc left. It was the last activation of turn 3. He draws it from the bag. It needed to disengage and run to a point. And he was just kind of trying to go through because he had like 3 activations left. So he was drawing 3 activations at the end after I'd gone all with mine. And he drew an activation and it was, I need to go with this. It's a 1 health B1, a B2, aim punch. And, kind of went to go roll. And I was like, hold on. Think for a second. You're getting a little, you're getting flustered because you're moving quickly. So that,
and that's part of the experience of doing more tournaments. You obviously that can happen to anybody, even if they've been to many tournaments, but it does tend to happen less and less the more you get used to being in that kind of an environment. But yeah, like he is a very, very good player, and he obliterated me the first time that we played against each other. So this is not me casting aspersions. That was back when I still thought that after the November changes that Rex and 501 snipers was a good list. And actually playing against him was the thing that sort of smacked me back into reality that I just needed to let the past die. But it was a good game, and at the end of the day, you reached the outcome that was like the most likely outcome given the way that the first 2 rounds went, and so I don't think that you robbed yourself of anything. So it was fine at the end of the day. And then on the other side, so yeah, we had the matchup we just talked about, and then the other side, it was actually both the Portland players were playing Rebel lists. And it was also sort of funny because Luke had a double X34 list. I'll talk more about that in a second. And then Nick had a double bus list. And whereas Nick had a couple of sleepers, instead of that, like Luke basically had Luke Skywalker, Commander Luke Skywalker, instead of spending a little bit more money on the Special Forces slot. But then otherwise, like sort of familiar Rebel things. No ATRTs between those 2 lists, which surprised me a little bit. But they were having a fun face-off with each other on Breakthrough, and Luke ended up pulling it out, which of course set up what the final was, which was you versus Luke's double X34. And then I talked about he has Commander Luke. And this is a Secret Dad PDX is his username, by the way. So then he had Lando with improvised. He had a fully loaded Din Djarin. My goodness, tenacity up close and personal, comms jammer, Mando jetpack, Din flame projector, Beskar spear, Grogu. That is a lot of points. But
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Secret Dad Brian Bear in disguise?
No. I can confirm that it's not, because Luke is a pleasant person to be around. He's a pleasant person to talk to. He's a good sport.
He didn't break my kneecaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
Nobody felt bad after playing him. We didn't get any complaints from anybody at the judges' table. So obviously they're not the same person. Just wanted to reassure the public that Brian has not learned how to teleport and inhabit other personalities, and that would have been bad news for humanity. But as far as I know, he's still stuck in Indiana. So anyway,
There's
to
fleet
keep
troopers
going,
and land speeders here, you know.
there's only one fleet trooper, and then he had he had 4 rebel troopers. 2 of them were with regular astromech, and then 2 of them were MPL ions. That's like another thing that he spent cash on instead of sleeper cell. 2 just plain slingers, and then of course he had 2 basically fully loaded X-34s, both of which had the Ion, the Rocket, the Astromech, the Strike and Fade. One of them had an HQ uplink because I guess he ran out of cash after spending so much on Din. But obviously, like, the double X-34 item is an extremely valuable one because he had HQ on one of them. That allows him to. Did he play standing orders round 1 against you, Isaiah?
I believe so.
I mean, so that allows him to play standing orders and have activation control on both of his X-34s. He has 2 copies of Improvise to sort of be able to delay the characters a little bit. But, you know, as long as you have a relatively safe space for the characters to go into, that's not the worst thing in the world. And, you know, as long as you're going to be busting out those X-34s with your 11th and 12th activation, then you can just like kind of wreck almost whatever you want, and it's a thing. So that was the matchup you got instead of the one that didn't have any double tapping Rocket Ion combos, which I obviously was you were hoping a little bit that Nick would have won the top 4 match because he's not gonna he wasn't as likely to functionally obliterate your lat, like going into the second activation of round 2. Surprisingly, however, that didn't happen. Why don't you tell us what did happen, Isaiah?
Yeah, so I'll walk through the game real quick, and then I'll tell you kind of my thoughts on how everything happened. I was also just looking real quick. I can't recall that for sure that he played standing orders because he had pretty good order control turn 1, and it felt like much better.
Probably
than I would
not.
expect. But I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So it was inconsequential except for the order control, whatever it was, because he was able to out-activate me. I was terrified of this list going into it. I really wanted Nick to win, like you said, when we were kind of doing our night before debrief of what was left. I also was convinced the lat was just a loss and was like, all right, I'm playing, 100 points down. Because I expected the lat to just die on turn 1 without doing anything. That did not happen. I also will say I was very scared of his objective deck. His objective deck and mine were almost opposites. The 2 objectives I was most afraid of was shifting and recover, and he had both of them. And so I managed to win the dice roll at the beginning. Or sorry, I managed to
losing is winning. It's okay. That's a given. In case AMG's listening,
I lost the dice roll, but I pulled it off because so losing that was great because I was able to make sure we played my primary. We ended up playing Breakthrough, which was the one in his. I think we actually played his Breakthrough. It was the one in his deck that I was okay with playing. It was a really good, really tight game. I made a few mistakes, but yeah, I'll just walk through it. So, as Breakthrough is, typically it's 2 separate fights. On one side, you have, for me, the Obi Cody bubble with the 3 arcs and Ahsoka. And on the other side, you have the Lat, 2 Naked Core, and then 2 separate Barks in the middle, kind of with the intent that they can split and go either way. That was my plan. On the Obi side, I'm going to refer to it as the Obi side and the Lat side. On my Obi side, he had Din, Luke, and 4 Rebel Troopers. And on the other side, he had Lando, 1 Rebel Trooper, a Fleet Trooper, and the 2 Slingers. And and then the 2 Land Spears deployed somewhat in the middle, but not fully in the middle. They were more on the lat side. However, they turn one were just he played turn one. They loaded into my they just fully unloaded into my my barks and were able to put one on 1 health. I think he didn't kill either, and then they kind of split up and were doing their own thing. I pushed his side turn with my Obi side turn 2 and was able to take it pretty handedly. He pushed my side with his airspeeder and his fleet troopers and was unable to effectively we achieved parity. By the point I took his, he took mine. By the point he took that's not quite true. I took his 1 turn before I contested his 1 turn before he contested mine. So I gained a 1 point advantage there. The issue that I ran into was on turn 2, I made a blunder with Obi. I did not move far enough forward because I mistakenly thought that his scanner was on Den, and I moved up with Obi and stood by, who had my scanner, should have double moved to score the point. I thought he was not going to be able to score his point, so I was okay with taking the point push in order to get superior board placement. That did not work. I made a mistake. The scanner was on Luke. Both judges heard it was on Luke. Caitlin heard it was on Luke. I was the only one who heard Mando for some reason, and just made a huge game mistake there and gave him a free point lead, which neutralized me taking it 1 turn early. The only other thing I was able to do is I was able to dive with my bark for 1 turn on one of his points, not to secure it in any way, but to contest one of his back points turn 3, the other back point turn 3. We basically from then on pushed on points where he had a single point advantage on me, and he was able to push basically 2 rounds. So end of round 3, he's up on me by 2 points. No, sorry, that's not correct. End of round 3, he's up on me by 1 point. And then when he scores his next scanner, he's up on me by 2 going into round 4. We ended at the end of round 4. And he was up by 1 point. I was able to basically fully wipe the side with Obi, except I left 2 rebel troopers alive so that I could score the scan point. The other side had a lat and 1 trooper left, and he was able to fully secure that side. So it turned very largely into a push. There were a few things. He pulled it out on me by 1 point. He ended up winning the game. There were a few things that happened that I could have done better, and there are a few key gameplay mistakes that I'm going to talk about. But I do want to, before I get into any of that, he played very good. He was great. He was a great opponent. I really enjoyed playing him. He absolutely deserved that win. It was a ton of fun. Don't want to come across as if I'm like, oh, I only because I made this mistake. No, he did very, very good. But there were a few key mistakes. The Obi mistake that I kind of mentioned turn 2 of not scoring my scanner cost me the game. Also, there was a later on, I was fairly confident we were not getting to round 5. And that was unfortunate for me. I really
due to time or points.
Yeah,
due to
time.
Due to time. I was unfortunate for me. Given the game state at the end of round 4, round 5 would not have changed it. But there are things I would have done differently in round 4 if I was not trying so desperately to get the 2 points in round 4. Right.
Sure.
The main one was there was a lat play that I swung for the fences with, where he had 3 points or 3 people contesting the lat side, and I had 3 people on the lat side. And it came down to, okay, if I can kill one of these units with a 1 health fleet trooper with a 2 health clone trooper by drawing it from the bag before he goes, then I can secure this, or I can contest this point and deny him the 2 victory points. Or I can move my lat onto his point and go for the surefire thing of 1 point that I will get, and there's no way that I don't get that point. It ended up not working out. I ended up saying, oh, we're on turn 4. If we're not getting to the end of the turn, I need the 2 points. I'm going to be able to I need to hang out here and stave it off. It did not end up working. It ended up backfiring in my face, and so that really screwed me over.
Well, I want to. That doesn't sound like a mistake. That sounds like a thing you had to do at that juncture of the game, and because it didn't work out, you lost. But because you made that choice doesn't make it wrong.
That's fair. So to get a little more granular into the details of that situation, it effectively came down to I had to find 2 points to make up.
Sure.
And there were 2 possible routes for me. He was contesting my other point with a 2-health land speeder.
Mhm.
And killing that would have gotten me 1 of the points.
Sure.
And I could move the lat onto his other point, very confident it would survive. And that would get me the other point. So that was 1 path to 2 points for me. The other path to 2 points was the lat staying put because it was physically blocking other minis from moving into my POI.
Yep.
And that 2-health clone trooper being able to punch the 1-health fleet trooper. And if that happened, that denied him 2 points. So it was either both of these other things had to happen or the fleet trooper kill had to happen.
Sure.
In the end, I did end up getting the kill on the land speeder, which I didn't think I was going to get, which ended up meaning that was 1 of the 2 points. So had the lat moved, it would have been basically I ended up getting the one that was a question mark whether I was going to get it, and I didn't take the surefire thing.
Sure.
It was a very tight decision that looking back on, I feel kind of silly about, but at the time was very hard to know which way it was going to go.
Was it a situation where you had sufficient order control that you could have waited to see an outcome that would have assisted in making that decision? Because sometimes the bag makes you make that choice before you have full information, right?
Yeah.
Which I think
the issue was I did not have it on that trooper, and he needed to go before the guy, before the rebel trooper, the fleet trooper went.
Yeah.
So no, I did not have the order control I needed there.
Sure.
So that was a sad. I was sad about that outcome. But that was a I do think that was a mistake on my point, kind of because I kind of sat down and ran through the math later and was like, oh, this other one was more likely to happen.
Sure.
But it was kind of trying to do it on the fly.
Yeah.
But that is what it is.
I do think that just like sort of pointing out to anybody listening out there is this is a big part of why Isaiah is the world champion, is that he got second, he lost by 1 VP, and he's like trying to look back with a critical eye at like all the decisions that he made. And even though like he is saying that some of it came down to dice rolls, what he's not doing is saying, well, if I got this dice roll, I would have won. Because that is the mentality that will not make you better at the game, even though it is sometimes like technically true. But it is almost always true that there would have been different decisions you could have made to where that dice roll was not the thing that decided whether or not you won or lost the game. And so, I think at the end of the day, you did really well. You were playing a list that you didn't have quite as much experience as you had with your World's Winning list, like which you ended up with a ton of experience with. And so I'm sure that affected things also. And hey, at the end of the day, Portland did in fact win again, for the 3rd time in a row out of 3 years. And, so we're going to huff about it. It increases the need, kids. In my opinion. Yeah, it's true. Get wrecked. It increases the need, in my opinion, to at least remind them of who we are by going down to as many of their locals and winning them as is possible. Between any of the players who are going down there. And I hope that Washington pool of players who's willing to go down to Portland, because their locals are often like, 24, 26 players. So, and like a very good player pool. So they're kind of like mini GTs in terms of the crowd that you get. But, we do need to at least make sure that they don't forget who we are, because if we stop doing that, then they're probably gonna email AMG and they're gonna say, why isn't Evergreen open in Portland? Because that's like the city that matters in the Northwest.
It's not in Portland.
See, and then people like Mike who are not familiar, with the geography or the history, who aren't respectful. People like him are going to openly question where Evergreen Open belongs, and then we end up where we end up. But Caitlin, how did day 3 go for you? Like what's it like? Just because no. Like certainly, Mike and I can't comment on the idea of, your spouse being involved at that level of the Legion tournament, and there's I'm sure that there's a mix of emotions, and anyway, just like tell me what it's like.
Good. I just kind of sit there and watch and see all the things and mistakes, and I'm like, you're missing things. You didn't inspire something.
I didn't
and
inspire.
Asked for permission later, and I was like, BB, I saw this. You shouldn't do this thing.
That's true. And again, Luke was very gracious. He specifically, it was I missed a trigger for inspire, and I asked, it was not a decision. There was a very clear only one thing was suppression, and he let me take it back. He was very kind about that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm sure it was very cringy to watch me play. I think it was probably even more cringy to watch the judges not catch half the things that Caitlin caught when we had game standards.
Oh yeah, she caught things that, I mean, for what it's worth, by the time we got to the finals zone, I told the two other judges, like, hey, I'm just going to be building geos back here, so I make sure you guys are clear. If I'm not sure if we're gonna have time in this episode for me to sort of like unload my Z6 worth of opinions on building Geonosians, but it's something that I think we should get to eventually. But yeah, like you're super observant, Caitlin, which is probably why I like you do well as a player, is because you're good at noticing game state things that, like, obviously Isaiah did not notice them, and he was playing in the game. And there were a lot of things that he didn't notice.
That's true.
The few things that I thought I noticed, I also could look up on my phone
That's true. That's an advantage.
That's in the game. It's
that's
like,
true.
If I can't look this up immediately, it's problematic because you don't want to waste time doing that.
It was just great watching her walk over behind the table over to Evan and Evan go, oh yeah, no,
hey.
You guys should move PL. Oh yeah, no, Din should be dead.
Guys, I
no.
noticed something. And I just want to let you know that you made this error, and so you're welcome. Isaiah, I do have to like give you a little bit of hell also on just like some of the questions that I overheard coming from your table, Mr. World Champ, about like what does this card do, or what does this ability do? My favorite like both happen in the same game was like you were playing against a Dooku player, and just as a reminder to folks, Isaiah, you played 3 Dooku lists in Worlds, at least 3, and then 2 of them, importantly, were the top 4 and the top 2, as in the final match of the World Championships for Legion, were against Dooku lists. Okay, and then one question I heard was, "Can you direct to yourself?" And then the other question I heard was, it's like he pulled out the Dooku 3-pip and he was like, "What does that one do again?"
Don't let him do you like this, Isaiah. Don't.
It's fine. I would feel more hurt if he was the one judging the table and not Caitlin most of the time. I would feel offended by that. But
yeah,
and we got to some wonky game states that the judges didn't catch. We had a dead Din who didn't die, who's zombied back to life.
Yeah, well, that one's mostly on you, Mr. Champ.
It didn't matter, but I'm going to grumble about it. I'm going to blame you because you were the judge at the table.
You had a fine opportunity to introduce an infinite loop into the game, and you failed to do so.
Mike and I are judging you for not just like diving into that most of all, because that would have made for great content, and yet you denied us that. So
I should have. He was. I should have done it. I would have won that game.
I feel like that's the game you're most regretful of, even though you lost the finals. Is that you're just you're mad about that first one. But again, hey, this is what good players do. Well, thank you both for that. Listen, Evergreen is a great time, and someday somebody from Washington will maybe win. And I was gonna say next year, like folks may have noticed that like my back wall has changed compared to what it was, for all the prayer episodes. I recently moved, and as a part of that, I actually have a little bit more space in kind of the podcast zone, so to speak. So I'm getting a camera set up ready to be able to do some like TFT minis so that we can show things instead of using words to talk about stuff like cohesion, which is functionally worthless. To say, well, this unit is going to be at 2:00 at half an inch away. Yes, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a setup where you can show you stuff. But I'm mostly thinking that I'm going to try and stream Evergreen next year. I ain't never going to be no Dave Zelenka and be a traveling streaming man. But given the fact that this one is right here and that I wouldn't have to like figure out the logistics about taking real stuff over, and that as long as I have a webcam and a laptop and a microphone, I can probably get it done. I think I'm going to stream it next year, and then I won't have to judge.
I love that. Do it.
And when I'm streaming, I can build as many minis as I want during the tournament, and nobody's going to be mad at me.
And maybe I'll even go, and somebody from Washington can win the tournament.
Listen to that.
Good. Do it. Do it. I want somebody who's not Portland to win. I don't care where they're from.
I'm from Washington.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Mike's gonna say I'm from the real Washington.
It counts. Don't care. Not Portland. Don't care. But if you do stream it next year, you're gonna have to deal with a lot of silly, fun games. Like, what if Caitlin and I play each other? Because
I would instantly demand you be on the stream table. That's how it works.
Well, I've told you what happens if we play on stream, right?
You get beaten and then you blame something else.
No, we play rock paper scissors and then we go get lunch.
There you go.
I will.
That's what happened at Worlds, and they couldn't stop us.
I'll eject you. Champion. I will make sure.
Just collusion.
That's just one hard warning. You can't kick me out.
Don't cross me. I loved hearing about how Caitlin was making fun of you for like listening to Scoundrels at home, because she was like, "You talk to him all the time." Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And then, so, I heard this when we were at the social event after day one. And so I said, "Caitlin, you're off the podcast." And she said, "That's fine. I don't care." So I said, "Caitlin, that's badass. You're back on the podcast."
Neat. I still don't care.
Hey, again, that's why you're here. It's because you're badass personality. We are going to very briefly talk about a couple other recent results, just so that we can have a little bit of a conversation about where we think the meta is, the usual Scoundrels thing. So, Mike, I'm wondering if maybe you can tell us a bit about the biggest GT so far this year, for sure, and usually it's the biggest GT period. The formerly MKGT, now the Chopper Base Open.
Why don't
you tell us a little bit about what went down there?
Yeah, they had 100 players, which is
100 players.
So many.
Good job, Andy.
All of America to shame, for sure.
Absolutely. Props to them for like keeping tournament attendance up. Like, yeah. I did want to talk about the top 8. The nice thing about Chopper Base is I think they've got that cool tunnel you can like drive under or take a train through from the rest of Europe to UK, so that like it is truly an international event.
Yeah, or you can just pay like $100 to go from Germany to London.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like they can get it done in a way that the US cannot when it comes to travel.
Absolutely. So they've got all sorts of flags on here, which is absolutely
that
great.
Part's cool.
So I thought that this tournament was a pretty good indication of where kind of like the world meta is shaping up. And so 100 players, top 8. We're looking at 5 CIS lists, 2 Rebels, and 1 GAR. I would say that shout out to Empire. They did take 9th. Just that close to breaking into the top 8. But Separatists seem to be eating well, guys. I think the winning list here was a Grievous, Kalani, Asajj, Sunfac, Triple Aqua monstrosity.
Double Aqua.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say. You,
Oh man,
you
if they let
obviously
us took triple aqua.
oh man,
Good night.
it would actually be illegal. And so
That's why he won. He just stacked with aquas.
yeah, no. But I mean, like, I actually think Sunfac and Aqua Droids is like pretty good combo from like the jump forward, shoot, jump back behind the aqua wall. I'm sure that you can do that with, I don't know how often that
It isn't the most
happens.
exciting shot in the world.
Yeah, but
what
it's
is
like
it? Is it red, black, black suppressive?
Single rainbow suppressive.
Single
Yeah.
rainbow suppressive.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Red black.
Surging, right?
For 50 points, it's not
think
the
so.
worst activation.
Well,
in the
I mean,
world.
that's the thing is that for 55, anybody that triple moves and that doesn't degrade has value, and he does have a piercing melee weapon, and so just like with Wicket, there can be sneaky situations where just like the little guy who's racing at you from the side who doesn't cost very many points can actually like be really annoying to you.
Yeah.
Wicket's a menace. I have dreams about that murder bear, man. He's a nightmare.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, like this list, you look at the various CIS lists, and I guess the thing that just continues to strike me is the fact that they can use so many different combinations of stuff,
Yeah.
and do really well. And that's why I think Mike and I keep harping on the idea that CIS as a faction is in this sort of holy land with regards to being able to take a ton of choices, many of which work, that it does not feel like the other factions are quite to that level. And there's obviously various degrees to all this, but and
They're just so flexible.
right, it's about flexibility,
so
and even if you acknowledge the fact that I think it was clear a long time ago, I feel like it's pretty darn clear now that the Aqua Droid needs a bit of a points hike. But even if you take that into account, like that's not like why CIS is doing well, right? I mean, it's not because they have access to like one unit that is off the curve.
I mean, I would like to caveat that with that there are only two things that are common denominators between all 5 of these CIS lists. The first is Kalani.
First is Kalani.
The first is Kalani, and the second is Aqua Droids.
That's fair.
There is significant deviations in the rest of these lists from each other. Those two threads are universal in all 5 of these, even though like they are radically different. Like some of them are leaning into Grievous and Asajj with the winning list. There's one with a bunch of Magna Guard. There's ones with AATs and Staps. Like they definitely like
a lot of Staps in these lists.
They run the smorgasbord of like different CIS units, with the exception of those 2.
That was well done, considering the winner was German, by the way, of saying that they have a smorgasbord.
I do what I can.
That's Andreas Roeder, by the way. I forgot whether we mentioned it, but that part is fair. And specifically the combo of Kalani plus even one Aqua that has LTA, they often both have LTA, means that you can, without needing to try really at all, is that you can play standing orders and then direct to the other one, and then you have 2 aims, and then Kalani is going to walk out there and strategize somebody and himself. You can even double up on that turn 1 token by putting the emergency comms on Kalani to be sure that both Aquas are double aimed when they take their initial shot, and like that infiltrate range 3 shot with a unit that is not easily punished, and then also with full order control, and then also having 12 activations, like that is a really good combo. And even when, and I say when, Aqua Droids go up by probably 10 points if you're carrying the heavy, like they're still going to use that. It's just that they're going to probably figure out ways to flex in other directions. But even so, like that is a common thread because it's so good. But for some reason, it doesn't feel like that's the main reason why CIS is doing well.
I do want to put one little caveat on that. I know we were talking exclusively about the top 8. Something with this event that I think kind of is worth expanding that slightly is the top 12 were 5-1.
Yes, that's very true.
So normally a top 8 cut, like you can look at the top 8 and get, okay, these are the
this is a top 8 strictly defined by strength of schedule.
Yeah.
There's somebody who lost a single game in a 6-game tournament and is in 12th place, like, which is wild to me. I mean, that's huge, right?
That's a fair point.
And so I would, just to put some of the things we've said in context, there was an Empire player who went 5-1. There was a CIS player without double aquas who went 5-1, or without any aquas who went 5-1.
Did take Kalani,
granted,
though.
that's one of each, but Kalani, yes.
To Kalani yet.
But I do want to put that little caveat in there. There was a Shadow Collective as well. Woo!
So is the conclusion that you come to here that Kalani is too cheap?
I think Kalani is really, really, really good.
Direct AI is just. I mean, it would have been the generic super tech if the generic super tech was still around, because that was actually a better deal, and they quote took that away, and so players were quote stuck with Kalani. I mean, so yeah, when the custom tacticals come out, I bet that one of them is going to have direct AI, and then people will start using that more. Maybe it'll even be cheaper than Kalani, which could in and of itself make CIS more of a problem than it is right now. But I think, obviously, yeah, like the combination of direct AI, Strategize, and Exemplar means that you can just do so much with one unit, and then
the card,
and yeah, like the reinforce move on Aquas is really solid. It's also solid if you're using anything like Vibra BX or Magnus, where you want to get them closer to the opponent at the end of round 1, and the 2-pip is still quite strong. The 1-pip certainly ain't what it used to be when it's not taking away fire support stuff anymore, but can still do some stuff. But yeah, CIS, it feels great in terms of the unit variety. They do need some adjustments, but like I think it's very, very, very doable to make those adjustments to make it so that they aren't using that combination quite so much. But I think that they're still going to be fine if aquas are just like a little bit more expensive.
Can I drop a hot take real quick?
You may.
I heavily disagree with you about the 1-pip. I think the 1-pip is insanely good and insanely slept on. I think that having that in a faction where you can get order control outside of your card can enable some crazy stuff, because there's a lot of times where it is insanely important to get a play early with a Dooku, or like with a big hitting person that you're relying on going first and being able to get some sort of shenanigans off, or some sort of like this person, slaps a Padme before she can do whatever she's supposed to do, or goes and slaps a Grievous before he gets to do his blender turn or something like that. And the ability to guarantee who goes, not guarantee who goes first, but to effectively say, you're not going with this unit first, guaranteed, unless you have perfect otherwise order control and that's the only unit in your bag. I gotta say, I think that there is some insane high-level play there, especially if you have someone else like Dooku, who has direct, apparently himself, I didn't know, but if you have somebody else who can capitalize on that and say, okay, now because I guarantee I go first, I'm going to be able to punish you so heavily for it. I hear what you're saying about it not being the same now that standbys aren't, or now that fire support isn't the same, or standbys aren't the same, but man,
But I mean, given the fact that you can't kick back character orders, and therefore you're not going to be able to affect them in that way anyway. Like, if I feel like when I think of the times I would want to mess with who an opponent activates first, RIP Palpatine, but when he uses 2-pip, because that did not have any limitations about forced first round activation, that universally could really mess people up. But if you play this against any character command, and that's what they're sort of counting on to get off first, then it's not actually going to do anything for you.
That's true. I mean, that is fair. And so there is that risk to it. But man, being able to deny a special forces charge or like a really powerful support is not something that I think is as. I am astonished by how much it seems to be universal that people don't take this card when it seems pretty useful to me.
I think there's a lot of lists that take it but don't
use it.
usually don't play
Yeah.
it in a game, just because, like, for instance, in a Dooku Kalani list, you're usually starting with standing, and then you're doing like you're showing the Kalani 3 pip, and then like maybe using it later in the game if Dooku dies, but then you're starting with standing, and then you're doing like Dooku, and then by the time it gets to the end of the game, it may be a situation where you don't play Day 2 Will Suffer, but there may also be situations where you just want more orders and you want to get some dodge tokens, and you'd rather play Preservation Protocols and then just have Dooku direct himself. But I mean, it has its uses. I think that my opinion is probably a little bit too colored by the comparison to the old Palpatine 2 pip, which is not even a thing I should be mentioning on this podcast because I'm supposed to have forgotten about the fact that it exists at all. Yeah, Mike over here, he's already brainwashed himself into thinking that we've always been at war with Eurasia. But I remember the way that things used to be.
Eastasia was once
There you go.
our enemy.
I will say that Isaiah, I agree with you. But I think that CIS just has all these lists have like 3 or 4 characters in them. They have like 4 to 5 1-pips they can be choosing between, and when you're literally walking through a sea of treasures, of things you could pick, the generic 1-pip that like sometimes has an effect that's really good, but sometimes also like falls flat.
It is, yeah. You are fighting for a very competitive spot with it. That is a fair argument.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
Like,
I think a lot of the times when I see people play it as well, they're kind of forget that they get to choose what you go with first when you're drawing, and so it'll be like the second time you're drawing, they're like, "Oh, I should have picked what you drew first."
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's what I see with it.
Yeah, I definitely have played this card a bunch of times and have forgotten just like that and been like, oh.
Same.
Whoops. But I mean,
because it is a weird trigger to have to remember that it's actually going to be often their second activation where it's going to matter.
It's a very off trigger to remember.
Yeah.
But like if you're playing like Grievous, Dooku, and Kalani, like you're taking Grievous and Dooku's 1-pips, right? Like,
yeah, you can't have all 3 of them.
Yeah, it's what he's saying is you don't take.
Sad.
You don't.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, that was a bad example. But like Maul, Dooku, and
you
Kalani
should be judging next year, Kaylin.
Noted.
You know the rules better than you.
Didn't you know Direct Trooper gives you Associate Kalani?
Right.
And then just like sort of looking back at Cyber Base 7 real quick, I was taking a peek at the Rebel list that did well. And what do we got? We got an Ewok. So not super surprising there. And then you go to the next one down, you have a double X-34. Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That one's been doing pretty well. And then let's go to the next one down and with Jeff Porritt. And then, oh wow, double X-34. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
That list seems to be doing pretty well.
I also think, just a shout out to Finn, I actually think Ahsoka Sabine, I got a chance to play against that, the 2-pip. The 2-pip on the back of like these like high activation lists is actually insanely frightening.
Oh yeah, I think Ahsoka Sabine is really strong right now.
Now that they're like, I still don't think Ahsoka's like good enough to take on her own, probably, but I think with Sabine specifically, yes. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I don't. Like, I wouldn't really be thinking too hard about Ahsoka on her own, but like with Sabine, it feels like it's real deal. And given the fact that both of them just shed 30 points each off of their cards is just like kind of nut bars. And even though it's different from the Dooku Asajj combo command because you don't get to like smack somebody twice in the same time at the same time with one card, but you don't actually get action efficiency with the Dooku Asajj card. You just get like timing that's pushed towards the front. But this one, it gives you like a free move for your like 2 of your hero characters is crazy.
Well, and like being able to go family reunion and like Sabine can move 3 times that turn, and then you can just like you
Explode
can't
wherever you
play
want.
around explosions when Sabine gets to
exactly.
move 4 times before it happens.
Yeah,
Like-
I don't think there's anything you can do aside from just getting lucky and killing Sabine before it happens. But yeah, you're gonna get exploded
yeah.
at that point, which is kind of nuts. Like when were you seeing? I haven't gone against this one yet. I've seen it on stream a couple times. But when do you see Family Reunion getting played? Is it like a round 2 card?
In the game that I was, the game I was playing actually was super annoying. They had Han too. It was Han, Ahsoka, Sabine, and I was playing Yoda. So I got turn 1 change of plans into turn 2 family reunion. So like my timing was just like all sorts of screwed up, and then family reunion, and like we got like halfway through the family reunion turn, and Sabine and Ahsoka are just like standing behind a wall that like waiting to go, and I'm like getting down to my last couple activations, and I'm realizing the danger that I'm in. And the danger level was like really high. I was like, oh, I could just like lose on the spot here. And I very nearly did, frankly. But sometimes Yoda pulls you out of those situations when the need is dire.
Listen to you, Michael.
You know.
Defending Yoda once again.
Yeah.
People can change.
I can admit sometimes when I'm wrong. Not all the time, but sometimes.
I will never. So yeah. Anything else about Chopper Base Open before we move on? I think we might move on to like talking a little bit about some league play that we have over here in Seattle. I know Mike was like, why do people want to hear about that? But the reason I'm bringing it up is honestly mostly because Isaiah and I actually got to play against each other in the league that we're running at Zulus, and it was an interesting game, mostly because of what Isaiah's list was. And let's not go into the full details, but if you had to describe your list in a couple sentences, what is it, Isaiah? And do you feel bad about it?
I alpha strike you 3 times before you hit me with my entire list.
So Isaiah was running a list that is double lat and triple comm officer clones.
I'm sorry. The comms tech?
The standby one.
Okay.
Comms technicians.
And so his game was to set up standby castles with Overwatch, of course.
Yeah.
And
there's one key part about that though.
Okay.
Was Rex was my commander, and taking him turn 2 with the extra range card, everything had either transport or scout, and so you were not moving where you could shoot me turn 1 without having to move forward first. Because the main part about standby castling is if you can shoot it off before I get a chance to go with it, it doesn't matter. This, like, being able to combo that with Rex's card effectively makes it where you're not moving into that range turn 1. So turn 2, I can punish you for it.
Which sounds nice if your Rex is alive to do that going into round 2.
We don't need to get into all that. But...
which is something that I was able to prevent from happening because Rex kind of like walked into my dudes. I was playing Ewoks. Which was cool for round 1 because I got to.
This sounds like a horrible matchup for you.
Listen, round 1 went really well because Isaiah sort of dove Rex out into the open of God's green earth, and so my relentless slingers just like kind of all dogpiled on him, and I did kill him, but then he stims, which was really annoying. And to which I was like,
so
Isaiah.
So to be clear, you didn't kill him.
Well, I sort of did.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're getting our story straight here.
At the beginning of round 2, I actually killed him by punching through his stems. But it was super duper annoying that I had to do that because it meant that I couldn't do the cool things that I would rather have done with my immobilized 10 Ewok slingers. By the way, still at this point, my favorite keyword interaction is the fact that you get just a completely unnecessary amount of immobilized because of the nature of the Ewok 1 pip with the Super Slinger Squad. But anyway, I killed Rex, and then that was the last good moment that I had in that game because very quickly Chewie the ATST was absolutely immolated by his double last with AP shells, which meant that was my only range 4 option. I had 2 range 3 options, which turns out is not good enough against Overwatch in my Rebels with Ion Troopers, and then everything else was a bunch of slingers and little spear boys. And so it was bunker assault, and like that half, they killed Rex, and then they got nothing else done for the entire match. On the other half, though, Wicket did solo Delta Squad, which is pretty funny.
That was awful.
Like
I hated that.
That's the thing that happened is that, Wicket, like, he snuck in behind cover, like behind LOS, and then he snuck in behind another LOS, and then all of a sudden it was like the Monty Python Holy Grail where they like see the guy running in from 200 yards away, and then all of a sudden he's just like right there stabbing you. That was basically what
this little bloody murder bear. I mean, into my backline was awful.
In fairness to Wicket, I feel like if Wicket is able to make base contact with Delta Squad, that outcome is not that unlikely.
Oh yeah, it's they almost killed him on the punchback because they do roll 2 black in melee, like they're not slouches, and so they got to hit him back, and then they activated first the next round, and he actually was only alive on 1 when I finished them off, but. That was a cool thing that I had to hold on to what I could because the rest of that game went extremely poorly for me against the standby castle on bunker assault when I had a bunch of friggin' Ewoks.
Man, you walked away from that. My favorite at the end of that game was you going, yeah, that wasn't fun for me. I did not enjoy that experience.
So,
man, Mike, this might have been an opportunity for self-growth because I thought, is this what I was doing to people for like 2 years? When I was playing Rexstar, and then I pushed the thought just like right out of my mind, which is the healthy thing to do, right?
Is absolutely. I mean, the healthy thing to do would have been to, sit there and just bask in the glory of what was
like,
standby
wow,
castle.
Standbys are so amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be getting killed by them right now.
Yeah. So Isaiah, were you like getting out of the last and like taking the standby action?
No. So turn 1, you get out of the lat, you take an aim, you have range 4 from where you are plus the board because you came out of a lat.
Mm.
The other ones have scout 2, and then have the board for standbying, and then for shooting. So that's turn 1.
So you're not actually taking standbys on turn 1.
Yeah, turn 2, you're not taking a standby. I just have order control across everybody.
Yep.
Because
you did take a standby against me round 1.
I did, but
Yeah.
that's because that person couldn't do anything. Like, I didn't need to take a
That's
standby.
fair,
It
that's
was
fair.
that person moved up and then took a standby because they stripped their standby by moving.
Yeah.
Because you were just hiding behind the wall that you built in your little terrain, your side of the
Are
terrain.
you saying he
didn't
built an
wanna play the game.
Ewok castle? That
Yeah,
sounds
he-
fair.
He just wouldn't sprint into me. I don't know why he was so afraid. But, coward.
Yeah, it was super fun to be like, wow, I have all these melee units, and they're just gonna get reduced to like 4 out of their 10 as soon as they take 1 move action out there.
I will say, I think that is the most technically complex list I've ever played. It is so.
Yeah, it seems.
There was some other stuff to
Yeah.
it too. A lot of it also had a Cody with the shoot back turn because it had Boyle, but it had to have very specific spacing for everyone because you were relying on a direct to a lat to get an order to 5s to get an order to another unit, and Boyle had to be in range 1 of both of those. So it was like I had to play a lot of practice games with that. It's really a good list. It's not fun to play against. That's why I didn't take it to Evergreen because I don't think anybody
Oh,
would
you're
be
so
happy playing
kind.
against me.
That would've been
It
fun.
is also like, as you
True.
pointed out, it's also rough on a couple of objectives. Like if it's shifting, then it's not a great situation for your list that mostly wants to just like kind of sit there until it's time for the shooting. But
Yeah.
In any case, I did want to finish off by asking the two of you the way we're running our league, which is the way I would really recommend that other people run their leagues, and this is another reason I wanted to talk about this, is that it's a very fun thing. It's a great way to make game nights more dynamic, and also like get participation up in game nights. Like, this is, for context, this is a store that, despite the fact that they do now sell Legion, it very, very rarely has tournaments because of like logistics reasons for the store. But like, we're having regular game nights that have 6 games of Legion going on, which is pretty cool for like a non-tournament game night situation. And I think that the league is the big reason for that. And so the thing that they're doing that I was referencing is the fact that we're doing like little pods of 3. And then so you play your 2 games in that pod of 3, and then they reorganize the pods after all those are done to make, winners against winners and so on. And then each time you switch pods, you're allowed to switch lists, which is so much better than being in a situation where you like get 1 list switch per league, or you're allowed to switch after you've lost twice or whatever. It's been great for me because like I started doing the Blizzard thing. I got my fill of that. Got tired of paying too much for my EWEVs, which was my own mistake. And then I moved on to Ewoks as sort of a reset button, because that's something I can always go back to. And now I'm moving on to Geonosians, which is why I was building so many of them. So I'm excited for that. Caitlin, you're also in this league. What are you moving on to next, or are you sticking with it?
So for the first 2 pods, I basically kept the same thing, changed out mechanized orders and Roger, because I realized when I tried playing them that I don't have droid troopers. Because they're default add-ins when I'm building my command list.
It was an amazing moment in the game store where you just hear Caitlin go, huh?
Standing orders it is.
That's funny.
But I'm probably going to change. I don't know what I want to do. Probably, I was kind of thinking just Poggle and Beef 2s, and that's about it.
It's so much fun. That's so stupid. It's such a bad list, but it's so much fun to play.
Low activations, lots of bullying.
Yeah.
Do you have enough B2s to make that happen?
No.
Okay.
Well,
I have some boxes though.
All right.
Yeah.
And I have B1s that can stand in for them.
Yeah,
Or
and
Geos.
that's the other thing about League is that, when I was doing the Blizzard list, I didn't even technically have a Veers built. I think I actually still don't own one, weirdly enough. And so, I just like tossed in a generic Imperial officer, and it's like nobody cares, so you can, if you're mixing a couple of things, you can proxy them, but you can still get the experience of playing it, which may help you decide if you're going to buy that thing. Isaiah, are you going to be trying to do something silly like the Standby Castle, or what are you going to be doing for your next League thing?
Oh, I don't have to play anymore. I've won.
That's the spirit.
If you don't play in Pod 3, then somebody else, maybe even me, would have a chance of winning.
If I take 2, this is a funky thing about how it's run. If I take 2 draws, which is what happens if you don't play in a league, I just win. No, but I'm not going to do that. That'd be so
collusion.
Yeah, way to publicly admit your evil deeds. World
I don't know.
champ.
I might play 118 B1s. That sounds fun.
I don't have that many built.
Who does that sound fun for?
That's the funnest list to play against. What? That's great.
I would argue, man, I don't know. I've never run up against like the mega B1. Have you, Mike?
Like the
bazillion B1 list. Like
really? You've never
Separatist
played
Invasion.
I have never played with or against it. No.
That is my get people into the game list. To play against that, because first off, it's very simple. There's not a lot of complexity going on there.
Sure.
2, it is so much fun pulling models off the table in handfuls. When you go, I got 6 of them, and it's just boop, boop.
You also get to roll
fun.
a lot of dice. There are a lot of terrible dice, but you do roll a lot of them. So
People
that's
love
something.
flame throwing them.
Oh yeah. If I really want to sell somebody on the game, I'll give them a flamethrower against that list, and it's like crack. It's just your first hit's free, and you're never gonna forget it.
Rolling 28 dice. Ugh.
Yeah, because like I've been flamethrown against with the Clone Super Squad when he had 22 dice, but but he only got like 3 wounds out of that, so it does sort of dampen the flamethrowing experience a little bit. But you're going to get more than 3 wounds against B1s.
It's
Oh,
also
yeah.
just
Statistically, you get them all.
it's like when you think of Clone Wars, like that's the list that like
Yeah.
you know, like that makes you feel like, oh yeah, this is Star Wars. There's just B1s everywhere, right?
I could see that.
You know, so I could dig it.
I want to be clear, though. It's a fun list. It is not a good list. No one take this as endorsement. It is not good.
I do think it's a
It's
stat
w-
checklist. It is a little bit of like if you don't have enough guns to kill the things, you could end
It's
up
a
in
quantity of health over quality of health.
But it is also a suppressible list that is so easily suppressible where you don't even have to kill them. You can just
They can't be suppressed.
They're B1s.
panicable list.
Sure.
Uh,
Because you're
You have
but
to
you know, if
Can you
you're
take
running
Dooku on
SI,
that
then
list?
you can have a field commander AAT, and if you are not like mega aggressive with it, then like the other player may be making that call about like, am I going to put shots into an AAT that does have the risk of taking 0 models away, or am I going to just like shoot a B1s where I'm going to get models away? I don't know.
Fun fact, you can't use the field commander keyword in Separatist Invasion. You have to take a T series.
Get
with
you're
the tank
schooled, Judge.
And
Oh
all the
man,
B1s.
see, Kaylin,
I've built this list. 'cause
Here-
I was
here's
like,
the deal.
Can you actually take 112 B1s? Yes. Barely.
I'd like to nominate you to be judging next year because you'd be better at it than me. Obviously, if you want to play, you should do that. But it sounds like I'm going to be streaming.
But
And
how do I get best woman at literally every tournament if I don't play?
that's true.
Truth.
Yeah. You know, hopefully the game will grow to the point where it's not quite so easy to be getting that all the time. You know, that's what I have my fingers crossed for. But yeah, like it's true that it probably would be hard to give that up. Michael, I'm wondering if we can close things out by giving in to OpenAI.
Mhm.
This podcast is not sponsored by OpenAI, nor is it sponsored by any other machine learning
We are here
megacorp
to-
that's going to replace us all.
I absolutely love that people have taken to calling these things clankers. I'm going to be honest. I love it. I don't know if that's where it came from. But so the segue here is that, the unit that has been randomly selected for us this week is actually pretty good against Isaiah's, standby castle list. So I
Okay.
would like to open you guys up to each. There's 3 of you. Why don't you each take a stab at what that unit might be?
AAT.
Yeah.
Barrage.
Close ish. Right ballpark for sure. Definitely this unit can be taken in the same faction.
Ooh, something range 4 with split fire would be my guess.
Snail.
Snail was what I was thinking, but that's range 3, so that's
Also
gonna.
no. That so Evan, you're done.
All right, I'm out. I'm out.
Oh man, I don't.
It's
What
up
else?
to you, Isaiah.
What else is range 4 in that? It could be.
I would forgive you for forgetting.
Is it Boss?
It is. It is
Oh,
Bosk. It
yeah.
is the Trandoshan
Yeah, I was gonna say
terror.
Boss makes sense.
Yeah. You know, obviously, not just separatist, so it's a little bit of a trickery there. But I think, well, he's Empire, separatists, and mercenaries now, right? I think those are the only factions you could take him in.
Is he in Shadow Collective?
He's
I
in
didn't know
Shadow.
that.
Yeah.
I've never seen him in Shadow Collective.
There was a time in the very first days of Shadow where you could run Maul and Bosk and a lot of super cheap pikes. And that was actually Matt Bronson, who now writes for us for Shatterpoint. He just like strolled on down there to Lone Star Open in 2022, I think, and he just like wrecked face with that exact list. But then pretty quickly the pikes got more expensive, and then I feel like after that point, Bosk sort of floated away from Shadow Collective generally, and he's still kind of been
It's kind of floating
floating
around
on
from
the opposite side of
everything,
it.
generally.
Yeah, exactly. and you know, Isaiah, you mentioned Adam Harrison. He was playing a CIS list that was 13 acts with Bosk that That was the list that actually did very mean things to my 501st Snipers Only list, as you might imagine it would do. Bossk, as it turns out, is also like very good at just making sure that Rex dies with lying in wait.
Yep.
Because there's not a damn thing, because you're not going to put situational awareness on Rex, right? And so, like, what are you going to do? He doesn't have impervious. He doesn't have nothing. He's just going to have 5 crits coming his way, and if you flub the roll, then good luck. But yeah, it's true. You don't. Bossk is weird because I think he's good, and yet you don't see him anywhere.
I think the general issue with Bossk is that he's just a little bit too expensive. I mean, at the end of the day, Bossk and Cody are not that far away from each other in what they do from a combat perspective. Obviously,
Yeah.
Cody has like support pieces, but their guns are pretty samey. They both generally end up having Pierce and Surge to crit. They're kind of like, and they kind of soak up some aim tokens to. You know.
I would make an argument that I think Bossk is a little bit better because he has he has Pierce, not
No doubt, but he's an operative that you can't give orders to, and he like, I don't know. Like Cody's also, isn't Bossk like 110-ish nowadays? I'd have to.
Bossk is 105, Cody's 95 now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cody got the point cut that I'd agree with you makes it better. Although bounty's not nothing.
It's not.
It's not nothing. I will also say that in this world of long range attacks that have quite a few dice, and then probably more importantly than that, range 2 attacks that have 80 bazillion dice, is that Bossk is gonna fold like a wet paper towel as soon as he takes like anything along those lines, and then he just like disappears off the battlefield. The regen, you're not gonna have time for regen because if you're lucky and he has the independent, then he's gonna have a couple surges to his name to have like semi-rebel saves at the very least. But I had a game fairly recently against Bossk. He was being played in CIS, and I did the Bad Batch thing, and he just died to one shot from Bad Batch, poof, like he never existed. And so, and like given the fact that it is tougher to have a guy that you're spending 105 points on at least that really has to stand on the periphery, I think that goes against a lot of the objectives that we have, and so like you certainly get a lot of rewards, but I think it's that risk part for me that makes me not want to spend cash on him.
Yeah, I definitely think that, like, I don't know. He needs to get, like, maybe if he was like Chewbacca's health, it might be a different conversation. I don't know.
Well,
One more.
I think what the Asajj and Sun Fac and Ahsoka and Sabine thing has shown us is that I think that there's quite a few characters that would just benefit from some significant points cuts.
You're right. We should make separatist characters cheaper.
I know, it's like okay, but luckily they already have so many other good choices that I don't think a boss points cut is going to make CIS all that much better. But I feel like Empire certainly would benefit from having more appropriately costed options. Like you think of what Callus is, and he's great at 75.
He's amazing.
I mean, you think about like comparing Callus to Bossk.
This is just
it doesn't look great.
The obligatory sanity check. Callus is 70, not 75.
He's 70. Damn it! I always do this. I mix him up with Jin, and I've done that to you before.
Yes.
So we're just gonna continue to get it wrong for eternity, I guess. But yeah, Bossk just cut his points. He doesn't need to be cut as much as Cad Bane's points do. Like you want to talk about some cost issues? Were you aware that Cad Bane is only 10? Cad Bane is also 105, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so that's 10 points less than Asajj Ventress.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. You could put Saber Throw in Asajj, and she already has a better range. She already has like a better jump and a better range attack than Cad Bane does. And then on top of like all the other stuff, and it's not pretty. So yeah, maybe just like cut some mercenary points, AMG.
I will say, I think he's better. I think there's some area that hasn't been explored with Cad Bane with Aquas, with the steady pop out, shoot, pop back.
Yeah.
But he's still just.
That's still 105
He's
points
still,
for
yeah.
a Pierce 1 black dice shot.
Yeah, it's still pretty rough.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks again to OpenAI.
ChatGPT, just so we're clear.
Thanks. Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't be naming companies if they're not actually our sponsors. And I get the more I draw their ire, the higher we're going to be on the kill list when they finally, take over the defense industry. So maybe I should. But hey, maybe that's a good reason why we should keep doing this. Is that like we're giving them a little bit of DAP for giving us some random topics to talk about, and then maybe that way they'll take out the Stabcast first, and we can just like hang in there.
And we just killed like 12 light bulbs.
Yeah, thanks, ChatGPT. Slowly sapping our Earth of the smoldering remains of energy that we still have, so that we can determine a random Legion unit to talk about at the end of the podcast. Yeah. Seattle. We care a lot about the environment over here. Well, with that, I think we're going to be rolling things up. Kaylin, thank you so much for being here. You are welcome here anytime.
Thank you.
Isaiah, it was good talking to you.
Later, dude.
You may or may not be welcome back.
No, you can come on if you can come on here if you bring Caitlin with you. Just because like it's clear that we actually do depend on somebody who's reliable at remembering rules.
Because clearly neither of you can.
Conversations, neither of us. But yeah, thank you both for being here. I am sure that we'll have you back on before too long. And Mike, how do we land the plane?
Yeah, this has been The Notorious Scoundrels, Season 4, Episode 27. I'm Mike.
I'm Evan.
I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Caitlin.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.